All right. So Temu, Shein, I think that's how you say it. Doesn't really matter. But a TikToker basically blasted them saying that Etsy sellers or Etsy buyers are being fooled because some Etsy sellers are buying products in bulk on Temu or Shein and they're selling them on Etsy. And well, people are pretty upset about it. So I want to hear exactly what she's talking about. Chris, can you pull up the article? And I think we even have the TikTok.
So, Scott, what you were talking about is, are your Etsy finds really from Temu? And we had a TikToker who came out and said, you think you're getting a good deal and then it's coming from a small business, but really what they're doing is just shipping things from Temu. And I would say, looking through this, maybe, right? There are some drop shipping things that happen on Etsy, and we know just by being on the platform that occasionally we'll do that. But also, and we know this from personal experience, that some of the Temu things are just being sold on Etsy. So if you want to take a look at this, I'm going to flip over on the tabs here in just a second, and let me know if you can see the TikTok now, and we'll listen to her and then give our thoughts.
Hearts or piss you off anymore, but some of you who have recommended getting higher quality items on Etsy are being completely bamboozled and fooled, duped, tricked, led astray with the tomfoolery, because those same items are on Temu and Shein, and people are buying them in bulk and then reselling them for 2, 3, 4, 10 times the price on Etsy. And y'all are thinking that it's a good deal and that it's coming from a small business.
What she's talking about there, Scott, is that there's the potential some people are doing a little bit of drop shipping. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts, generally speaking, about, do you think that this is a Temu thing? Do you think this is a Shein thing? Or do you think it's mostly going the other direction, where people are ripping off what's selling well on Etsy and turning around and selling it on Temu and Shein? What do you think is the bigger version of the problem?
Yeah, I think the bigger issue is they're taking, and I don't know who, but it seems like, and we've noticed it, where the businesses are taking products from Etsy, and then they're putting them up on Temu or Shein. And that I see as a bigger problem than I see sellers who are buying stuff in bulk and trying to resell it on Etsy. Although it is still a problem, right? And I think that that's another thing that Etsy needs to pay attention to, because it is going to take your platform and make it where people are not going to trust it, because once they do find out that they are in fact drop shipping, which is, we know is not, it's not accepted. You're not allowed to do that. So yes, are people doing it? Are they going to get away with it for a little while? Yes, but I think the bigger problem is, and I don't really know the answer to like how to protect yourself from that. The only thing I can say is, like, and I've said this to my wife, don't go on Temu and look for your stuff, because you're going to find it and it's going to irritate you and it's going to frustrate you. And then you're going to be on a mission to try to get it all taken down, and you're probably never going to get it taken down. And then what's going to happen is you're going to waste all that time, and it really isn't going to matter at the end of the day. So I think that's a bigger problem than maybe this is another case scenario where maybe people are going to find our products on Temu, they're going to buy them cheaper, and then they're going to resell them on Etsy. That's a bigger problem, because now people are going to take our products, sell them on Temu or Shein as their own. People are going to buy them and then come over and sell our exact products on Etsy. I haven't seen that yet, but I bet you it will happen. So, I mean, Chris, that's what I'm seeing here. I think it is a problem. And I think Etsy does need to be aware of this.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple different variations of this that we've seen over the years, right? And Etsy has done a decent job of cracking down. And actually in 2023, and as part of that article, they did launch a filter to start to weed out anything that is on those things. And we saw a lot of Etsy sellers get caught up because people were stealing their exact images, putting the image and the product on Temu, and then the Etsy filter came and said, whoa, this is both places. And it took their listing down because they saw it on Temu, right? And so we know that it's happening the other direction. If you're doing something like curating gift boxes, and one of the things that's in there is coming from AliExpress, Temu, Shein, that is actually okay inside of the terms of service. And I don't know that you can really do anything to get around that. But if you are drop shipping something from Temu, that is something they're actively trying to prevent. So what I would say is I've seen it much more the opposite way. I'm sure it's happening, right? Where people are finding things on Temu or Shein and they're listing it on Etsy. But what we've typically seen is that people will list something first on Etsy and then it gets copied over to Temu or Shein. And so, if you can find something cheaper and that's really what you're looking for and you really want to buy through Temu or Shein, can you do it? In some cases, yeah. But if you are an Etsy seller, right, you can't be selling those things. And so if you're watching this and you are doing the drop shipping side of this, you need to stop because you're contributing to the problem. Etsy is trying to crack down on this. The approach they've taken so far has hurt the actual original Etsy sellers more than the people who are doing it the opposite way, at least based on what we've seen so far. So I think it's interesting that the general public is picking up on this a little bit. And I know it is something Etsy's actively trying to crack down on. And we've seen this on other platforms. A lot of other platforms struggle with this as well. Amazon struggles with this, right? It's something they've struggled with for a while. It used to be AliExpress. People would list something and then say, hey, it's coming from here. Now we have Temu and Shein, who are competitors directly with something like an AliExpress. And we're seeing people doing some drop shipping from there potentially. But the bigger issue that you and I have seen so far, and you guys can feel free to correct us in the comments, is going the opposite way. Etsy sellers will list something on Etsy and then it happens to also pop up on Temu or Shein.
Now, okay, so a couple people brought up some good points here. What if you're building gift baskets or like a bundle of some kind and you're buying something from Temu or Shein and that's part of your bundle, that's part of your thing? Is that still drop shipping? Is that okay? Have you now created something unique that isn't just you're buying something from Temu and flipping it over on Etsy? And then Jack in the shop said, I've got some pocket knives from Temu. I laser engrave them and sell them on Etsy. I think that's okay. It's almost like your supplier in a sense, right? It's like you're buying blanks and then you're personalizing them. That to me seems within, the range of it being okay. Chris, what do you think on that? I mean, basically, if you're going to Temu, AliExpress, and you're buying blanks, and then you're just basically personalizing someone with their wedding date and their names, I think that's okay.
Yeah, that would be considered a handmade product under Etsy's terms of service, right? What you're not doing is buying the knife on Temu and selling the exact thing on Etsy because you are making a difference. To me, that's no different, regardless of how we feel generally about Temu or Shein or AliExpress, right? That's no different than going to Walmart and buying a pocket knife and custom engraving it or buying it in bulk from a supplier. There's really no difference there because you're not selling the same finished good that you were getting the other place.
With that being said, is that something that we got to worry about? I personally would just focus on building your brand. Like just build your brand, build your email list and continue down that road versus worrying about copycats, worrying about what's going to happen there. Just stay in your lane, focus on your niche, focus on your brand, build your email list, get your marketing and promotions in place and create some really good products and just put the blinders on.